Hi, I'm Jeanne Fiorini. Thanks for being here at the Tarot Tips. Today I'm going to respond to a viewer's question, which I so appreciate. This is, I don't know, Tarot Tip 89, Tarot Tip 90, something like that. So I always could use a little assistance coming up with ideas for useful informational videos. So if you have a question or you have something you want us to talk about, please email me and we'll put it on the list. So the question or the concept that the viewer wanted to take a look at was the wondering if my perceptions about certain cards or my interpretations of certain cards had changed over time. And I thought that that was a pretty interesting question. So I sat with my cards for a little while and went through the deck a couple of times, and a couple of interesting things happened. The first thing was that I could find two cards where I had changed my perspective on. One is the Ten of Wands, and even though I guess I still hold my old perspective about this card, which is that things are frustrating and that this maybe feels a little bit negative in tone, like forget about it. Now when this card comes up, I think about it more like forget about it in the good way, like I don't have to worry about that anymore. Not forget about it, I'm not going to get there, but wait a minute, you already did that. You don't have to work so hard at that anymore. So the Ten of Wands may be pushing something around that I don't have to push around anymore. Ten of Wands, give up the fight. You don't have to fight. It's working. Don't create a problem where there is one, where there isn't one. So that was one card that stood out to me in terms of how might I have shifted my idea about what the card means. And the other one is the World card. Now, it was interesting to me that with this question of how's my perspective changed over time, that I picked up two cards of endings. So you can, draw your own conclusions about what that might mean. But the World card, it does depend on where it comes in the layer or how it comes in the question. But to me, this card does feel more like an ending rather than an attainment sometimes. I've seen this card come up a lot when marriages are over, when people feel frustrated about their life, like, oh, I've done all there is to do. Is that all there is kind of a thing. So I still am always going to be thinking of the World card in terms of, depending on the question, the attainment of a goal or maxing out your potential. But then the other side of it is, as it comes up in people's readings, a lot of times it comes up to say, you did all you could do, now it's time to get out. So, a little bit of a dual nature there with that World card that I wasn't quite aware of in the beginning. The second thing that happened as I was sitting and going through my deck was noticing how, relating back to another video that is in the queue, is this idea about we project our own meaning onto the cards. So certain cards are going to hit us in certain ways depending on what's happening in our life. So what happened was, interestingly, every time that I went through the deck and I passed this Four of Swords, I thought, oh, that looks so relaxing. And a lot of times in the past, personally for me, this has been a kind of either a neutral card or a card that says, oh, you just need to recuperate. I really, whatever's going on, I must maybe need a vacation, because I just looked at this card and felt how peaceful it is and how quiet it is and centered it is. So the more you work with your cards, you're going to notice that certain cards really speak to you at certain times of your life and other ones just sort of recede into the background. This one really stood out to me as a card of peace, and it just had that hot bathtub kind of feeling to it. And kind of conversely, when every time as I was flipping through the deck and I saw this Nine of Pentacles, I thought about how stifled she looked. I thought, and this is Venus in Virgo. That's something that's right off my astrological chart. I want to say I should like this card, but and it is a card of security and stability, and somebody who's worked really hard and attained a certain level of accomplishment in their life. I looked at it and thought that she looked really weighed down by that garment. I thought that she looked kind of stifled and maybe even a little woeful, and maybe not quite so happy. So this is a projection. I'm projecting something onto this. When you do that, that gives you useful information about where you are. How are things for you? How are you thinking about things? Maybe what do I need in my life? Using a spare half an hour sometime that you have, just flipping through your deck, just randomly taking a look at your cards and paying attention to which ones really stand out for you, either in a positive way or a negative way. Again, it's about your perception. So the initial question, how has my perception of certain cards changed or not changed over time? The subject of this video is our perceptions of the cards. So important. The third thing that happened, which really happened more during the week with a client, but that came up as I was doing this, just looking through my cards as a group, is that the more you talk with people about tarot, the more readings you do, the more classes you attend, the more experience you have with dealing with certain cards, you develop a huge cache of information. You develop a huge treasure chest of potential meanings. We were in a group last week, and somebody was in the tarot salon, which is an open reading circle, and people don't have to know anything about tarot to participate. Somebody who knew nothing about tarot said about this particular Eight of Swords, well, I don't know what the card means, but she's in her prison orange jumpsuit, and she looks a little stuck to me. And I thought, okay, ding ding, that's really going to stick in my head now, because that's exactly what's going on. This person is in a mental prison. This person is really stuck. Here's a case where too much information sometimes limits you. I look at that and I see the red, which is symbolic of the will and the passion, and it's not freed up. It's all tied up by the linearity of the swords, blah, 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 which is true. But then somebody with Bambi eyes, a brand new fresh vision comes in and says, oh, there's somebody in an orange prison jumpsuit and they're really stuck. It's like, yep, that's about it. So now that's in my cache. That's in my treasure chest of meanings for this card. So perceptions might flip. Perceptions of certain tarot cards might adjust themselves over time. More likely, you're just going to find added meaning, either through your own experience and how you project onto the cards. There was a time in my life maybe where Two of Pentacles indicated where I was. Maybe there was a time in my life where Queen of Cups was where it was at. Those things stay with you. So keep those in your treasure chest. But then, when you work with other people, you hear their perspective on things, you hear their interpretations, what they see in the card, and that also can become part of your library of potential meanings and interpretations. So I would really say that the perspective is always changing, and that's a really, really good thing. It allows us to be more flexible, more fluid, allowing the tarot to be a tool that has a vitality to it, and not really stuck in the Victorian ages. So thanks for being here. We'll see you next time.